In this video, we're gonna be talking about 5 must-have sound effects for your sports edits. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. What is up? Welcome back. Pete here. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Pete Gottschalk, content producer with Major League Baseball. Happy New Year. First video of 2025. One of my resolutions this year is to make more videos on here and post more on my own TikTok and Instagrams. So stay tuned for that. If you don't follow me, drop me a follow. I'm always around if you guys need help with anything related to videography or if you just want to chat, you know. But today, we're going to be going over 5 must-have sound effects for your sports edits. And these are things that I use a lot in my edits personally. If you have questions of where to get good sound effects, let me know. I use Soundstripe for the most part, or I rip them offline, the ones that stay free. But those are where I get mine. If you have questions of how to obtain certain sound effects, let me know in the comments. Number 1, one of the most common sound effects that I use, and I use this in pretty much every edit, is some sort of whoosh. Now a whoosh is simple, it sounds like this. These are sounds that can be used when you are zooming into something to get closer, or you are zooming out of something to get further away. At least that's what I most commonly do them for. They can also be used side to side. Another thing that I do use them for is like if a pitcher's throwing a ball, and right when the ball comes out of their hand, you peak the whoosh. We all know sports contain a lot of movement and a lot of fast-moving things, throwing footballs, dunking, running past the camera. So whooshes represent speed and change in motion, and I think using these can really exaggerate that motion in your edits and that speed of what these athletes move at. There are a bunch of different types of whooshes. You can have whooshes with fireballs in front of them. You can have slow whooshes to represent slow zoom ins and outs. And you can have really fast ones too. It just really needs to be kind of a subtle effect when you are editing, and you need to match that pace and pitch of the whoosh with the object or the zoom or whatever is in the frame. Number 2 is reverse sound effects. And when I say this, I don't mean quite literally like a rewind sound effect, like you might be thinking. I mean like reverse cymbals or bells. And a cymbal is in like the ding ding things that you hit when you're in marching band. These types of sound effects I use a lot for kind of ramping up to a big impact play, right? Like you dive, ball goes in the glove, or a home run, an impact, a big hit in football. This sound effect I often pair with like a bass drop or some sort of big musical change in the volume or the pace of the song, and pair that all together with a big hit or something. Gives you that big anticipatory feel into that moment. So reverse sound effects, like I said, they can be bells or cymbals. I have a reverse cymbal effect that I use in so many edits. These types of things, again, need to be subtle. You don't want them to be overpowering because sound effects and sound design will always take your edits to the next level, but they need to be on the subtle side so the viewer doesn't really notice them in the forefront, but it's going to kind of take that viewer's experience to the next level and immerse them even more when it comes to your visuals and pairing the sound effect with them and everything. You don't need to find a reverse sound effect. You can take like a cymbal or a bell or just like a classic ding sound and reverse it, and it's going to sound really unique and cool. So just try reverse sound effects when you are building up to those big moments in your edits. Number 3, clock ticking sound effects. So if you are familiar with movies, a movie that I really enjoy is Dunkirk. And in that movie, famously, Christopher Nolan used a constant clock ticking sound effect to kind of give the viewer more anxiety. Whether that's right or not is up to interpretation. But if you notice, that subconscious ticking in the background is going to build that anticipation and build that anxiety and that impending doom in that entire movie. And that is another thing that I like to use in my own sports edits, right? If you are building up to a big moment or there's like a lull in play or something quiet, I use a clock ticking sound effect a lot. Big moments in sports, as we know, are such an important thing. Walk-off homers, big dunks, buzzer beaters, whatever it be, that big moment and showcasing the moment leading up to that through sound design is crucial in your edits. So I've always found that clock ticking sound effects are going to increase that kind of anticipation aspect for the viewer. What I'll do most of the time is I will fade in these effects over the whole length of the file in my edit, or I will do like a keyframe pan. So like I'll start it way in the left ear and then I'll move it over to the right as it gets closer to the building that bigger moment. And you can pair this sound effect with like a reverse cymbal or like a big gnat sound noise from your big moment, and it works great. Another sound effect that I use all the time is the camera flash. Whether it be a new sounding camera, like a mirrorless camera, or like an old timey camera, this is a very versatile sound effect and it can be used in a lot of different ways and contexts. Sometimes I'll use a big, like, quick firing shutter to show off like a highlight play or some sort of like a slide in baseball or a big dunk to show that big highlight and all the cameras were on this player in this moment. And this also allows you, if you're shooting photo too in game, I know a lot of y'all shoot both, you can incorporate your photos in edits or photo sequences per se. So in between your video highlights, you can maybe mix in a photo sequence, and that always looks really cool as well. Sometimes I've done like a puppet tool in photo sequences too. I'm just gonna flash an example of what that looks like. That is another way to incorporate a camera flash sound effect or a sequence of camera flashes, however you wanna go. But also I've used old camera flashes, like I mentioned, to kind of take the viewer back in time, right? If there's like some vintage photos at the beginning of a player's story or career, that you can kind of, boom, that old bulb flashing, and you can flash it back to, you know, the 1990s, wherever. Those are just some ideas. Camera flashes I've used a lot over the years. Highly recommend getting one of those or a sound effect of a bunch of different types of camera flashes in there that can be used for transitions. And finally, my last sound effect that I do use a lot is some sort of fireball or consistent fire sound effect. So as I already mentioned, there's a lot of fast moving objects in sports and fast moving athletes. So a fireball can be interpreted as like a fast moving object. I use this a lot. There's a baseball pitch or a softball pitch that has a lot of velocity on it, and you can pair this with like the Saber plugin, light the ball on fire almost, and add a fire sound effect just to show that overpowering velocity. Another thing fire can be used for is like a player who's hot. Say a basketball player hits like 6 threes in a row. In that edit, after he hits that 6-3 and he does this, you could put him on fire with the Saber effect or do some sort of overlay and pair that with a fire sound effect, like a consistent fire. I have like a bonfire that I use, like a crackling fire, and that'll pass as like a good consistent fire sound effect, even though it is from a bonfire. And then I also have, as I mentioned, like whoosh fireball effects that can represent velocity and fast moving objects or players or whatever. It's always good to have a couple fire or fireball sound effects in your sound effect library. And that is all I have for y'all today. I hope you guys were able to gain some value from this video. If you have any questions about where to find sound effects, like I mentioned, comments below right now or DM me on Instagram at PeteChalk. I'm always open to help y'all. And hopefully we're gonna be posting more. I want y'all to hold me accountable for that on this channel, on my own social platforms. So message me if I'm slacking, for real. But I love y'all. Happy New Year again, and I'll see y'all in the next video.